Discover the incredible moment a successful CEO fainted, transforming lives next to a struggling small-town mom. Jack Thompson, the high-flying tech CEO, had become a legend in Silicon Valley. He flew home in a sleek black car, the kind that turned heads and whispered wealth. The proud son of Midwestern roots, he returned to the small town of Maplewood with an air of success that felt heavy on his shoulders. Once, he had dreamt of transforming the world while tossing basketballs in the driveway. Now, he saw familiar streets despaired by vacant storefronts and the weary faces of neighbors he'd once known. A smile tugged at his lips, but a sense of disconnection knotted in his chest. As he arrived at the charity gala, all pomp and smiles, he felt the weight of expectation. Lights glittered like stars, laughter rang out, and there he stood, a star and spectacle. Yet, beneath the warm facade, unease twisted in his gut. How long had it been since he had truly felt at home? The locals mingled around him, gazing with a mix of admiration and skepticism. Jack attempted small talk, feeling increasingly out of touch with the dreams and struggles that painted the lives he'd left behind. "Isn't it wonderful to see you back, Jack?" someone chirped, forcing a smile. "We heard about your success." But as he stood on that stage, speaking about his company's philanthropic initiative, a wave of dizziness hit him, the room blurring into a haze. He barely managed a few heartfelt words before he suddenly collapsed. Gasps filled the air, a chorus of shock that echoed against the walls. Cold sweat dripped down his brow as darkness swallowed him whole. When he opened his eyes, the world came back in blurry fragments. And there she was, Sarah, a single mother whose life was woven with sacrifice and unfulfilled dreams. She knelt beside him, her blue eyes fierce with concern but brilliant with determination. "You okay there, Jack?" she asked, her voice steady. "You know your world feels different than ours, right? It's easy to preach when you've never truly lived in the struggle." Her words struck him like lightning. The gallant CEO was now exposed, standing naked before his childhood community. Jack felt the walls of achievement crack. His facade of riches did nothing for the broken street corners or the fading businesses. Amid the elegant decor, the dinnerware clinking, he realized he had been blind to what mattered. The charity gala became a window into the realities of those like Sarah and her 10-year-old son, Danny. The boy's wide eyes sparkled with dreams of being a scientist, a dream that mirrored his own childhood aspirations. Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite within him, weaving through to his heart. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Jack mulled over their conversations with Sarah, he found himself pulled into her world. The swirling chaos of their realities juxtaposed with his polished life felt dissonant yet enlightening. The townspeople's voices rose in heated debates about the widening gap between the haves and have-nots, questions he had unconsciously evaded. The heat of the evening culminated in a community meeting where emotions boiled over. Jack stood, heart racing, as he faced the crowd of familiar faces that now looked at him not with admiration, but with challenge. The tension in the air was palpable. Could he stand for change? Could he ally himself with the very families he left behind in pursuit of success? The silence swallowed the room as Jack stood there, his limbs frozen, his heart pounding. In that moment, two worlds collided, and he knew he was standing on the cusp of something far more significant than his previous accolades could ever offer. The question burned brightly in the air: would Jack bridge the deadly chasm or walk away, abandoning Sarah and Danny to a harsh reality? Small-town mom, Jack swallowed hard, the weight of silence pressing down on him like an anvil. Faces stared back, some hopeful, others skeptical, all waiting for him to say something that mattered. There was a fire in their eyes, a longing for change that felt tangible in the air. It struck him how disconnected he had become from the very people who had shaped him, who had cheered for him, and who now questioned his motives. Swallowing his nerves, Jack took a deep breath. I want to do better," he began, his voice shaky but growing steadier with each word. "I thought I could help from a distance, but I see I was wrong. I see that building a company isn't enough when our community needs more than donations. It needs action, real action." The crowd shifted, a ripple of surprise and cautious optimism coursing through them. Encouraged, he continued, "I want to be part of this town again, not just a name in a magazine. I want to listen. I want to understand." These words spilled from his heart, raw and genuine. Sarah's eyes softened, the fierce determination giving way to a flicker of hope. Jack glanced at Danny, who looked up at him, an innocent belief glinting in those bright eyes. Jack had been that boy once. He understood that feeling of possibility. "Tell me your needs," Jack implored. "You've deserved better, and it's time I earn your trust again." A murmured response passed through the crowd, a hesitant acceptance mixed with uncertainty. They deliberated silently, faces close together, sharing quiet whispers that hung in the air like a breath waiting to be released. Then, a voice broke through, cutting the tension like a knife. It was Ms. Jenkins, an elderly woman who had known Jack since he was little. "Jack, we need jobs here, and not just talk. We've lost so much already." Her voice was strong despite her years, reflecting the resilience of Maplewood. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle deep within him. "I promise to bring opportunities," he assured, "to invest not just in funding but in education, in mentorship to connect people with jobs in my industry." The crowd leaned in, intrigued. "We need you to stay engaged, Jack," another voice chimed in. "This isn't a wish list, it's a lifeline." He sensed the stirrings of momentum, a wave burgeoning at their feet. "I will," he vowed, conviction flooding his chest. "I'm declaring this my mission to revitalize Maplewood together. I want to create an innovation hub, partnering local talent with businesses." The rest of his promise unfolded, filled with hope and action. As he spoke, Jack felt warmth spread through him, igniting that flicker he had felt earlier. A sense of purpose was unfurling, and the worry lines in the townspeople's faces began to soften. They were hungry for connection, understanding, and genuine partnership. But could he follow through? Questions of self-doubt nagged at him. What if old elitist patterns resurfaced? What if he failed them again? Amid the growing excitement, Jack's heart raced, battling between hope and fear. Just then, he caught a glimpse of Sarah's smile, radiant and unwavering as Danny beamed beside her. It kindled an ember of courage within him. "I'm all in," he declared, raising his voice above the murmurs, challenging himself and the crowd alike. "Let us transform Maplewood together, starting now." Applause erupted, echoing his resolve, but in the back of his mind, doubt lingered. Months of hard work would be needed to restore their trust. What if he stumbled along the way? As the evening wound down, Jack approached Sarah, an unspoken bond forming as they exchanged hopeful glances. "I can't do this alone," he confessed softly. "Will you help me?" She studied him, her brows knitting together as if weighing his words carefully. Her answer would shape everything they were starting. "It won't be easy, Jack," she warned, a knowing look in her eyes. "But I see something in you now. Let us see if you can really deliver." Feeling the weight of her expectations, Jack nodded, determination burning bright. What had started as an embarrassing moment had now spiraled into a promise to revisit and rebuild his roots. As they walked away from the crowd together, Jack felt something shift within him, a resolve stronger than before and an understanding that the real journey was just beginning. But he couldn't shake the question in his mind: was he truly ready for the fight ahead? Would this community believe in him again? The true test of his commitment was just on the horizon. Jack woke up the next morning with a sense of purpose. Sunlight streamed through his bedroom window, casting a warm glow that shifted his mood into something hopeful. Yet, beneath that hope lay a small layer of anxiety. He was still grappling with whether he could truly deliver for Maplewood. As he brewed coffee, Jack flashed back to the faces in the crowd, curious, eager, and some still doubtful. He needed to face these challenges head-on. He thought of Ms. Jenkins, of Danny, and of Sarah. What they needed was not just words but tangible action. Jack grabbed a notebook and began jotting down ideas, trying to organize the chaos in his mind. "Focus, Jack," he muttered to himself. He wrote about connecting local businesses, securing funding, creating educational workshops. With each word, he felt the mounting pressure transform into clarity. This could be the fresh start Maplewood needed. By the time he got to the office, the coffee had kicked in, and he was ready to face his team. "All right, everyone," he announced, boldly standing in front of the conference table. "We're shifting focus today." His team exchanged glances, a mix of intrigue and apprehension. "We're going to invest in community initiatives in Maplewood," he continued. "Not just funding but hands-on support. Maybe we can start with mentoring young people, or even internships." He laid out his vision as vividly as he could, emphasizing the importance of real community involvement. "But Jack, we're a tech firm. Can't we just make our donations quietly?" One team member piped up, the skepticism hanging in the air. "No," Jack said, feeling his heart race. "That's what I used to believe. We have to immerse ourselves in this. It's about more than just charity, it's about restoration, rebuilding trust. This is our chance to make a meaningful impact." After a long silence, a few heads nodded, and he saw a glimmer of excitement in their eyes. They were believing in this dream alongside him. By the end of the meeting, they had divided responsibilities among themselves, from planning workshops to reaching out to local businesses. Jack left the office feeling lighter, a sense of camaraderie starting to blossom. But as he stared out the window, doubt returned. Would they truly back him when challenges arose? When he stumbled? That evening, Jack met Sarah at the local diner, a cozy spot full of laughter and the smell of freshly baked pie. He needed to share his plans with someone who understood the town's heartbeat. Over coffee and onion rings, he tried to articulate his ambitions, painting a picture of shared futures and community revival. "I believe in your vision, Jack," she said, her tone sincere yet firm. "But there are going to be people who will resist change. You'll need allies, not just in this room, but across the town. Who do you think I should talk to first?" he asked, leaning forward, eager and nervous all at once. "There's a local council meeting next week. It's a start. You need to share your heart with them, show that you are committed. They need to see the man who spoke to the crowd that night," Sarah advised, her eyes sparkling with determination. Jack's stomach fluttered at the thought of speaking again in front of a room full of people. The warmth of Sarah's encouragement, though, pushed him forward. "Okay, I'll go." The conversation shifted naturally to the upcoming town fair, and Jack felt a stirring in himself. "This fair is the perfect opportunity to connect with more people," he revealed, his voice picking up energy. "We could have a booth sharing info about our plans. We could involve the youth." "Yes." Sarah smiled, her enthusiasm contagious. "It could be your first big outreach." As they left the diner, Jack felt energized. Each step he took carried the weight of his purpose, but it also brought a tinge of fear. The council meeting loomed ahead, and he could feel its enormity. But it wasn't just the meeting that worried him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was deeper, the test of whether the town could forgive the past, accept him, and where the path would lead them all together. Jack sensed something significant was on the horizon, something that could either spark growth or reveal cracks he wasn't prepared for. Would Maplewood embrace this new dream, or would it see him as just another man in a suit? He took a deep breath, ready to face the turning point of his journey. Little did he know, the challenge awaiting him was far beyond what he imagined. The sun beat down on Maplewood as the fair approached, vibrant and alive with excitement. Jack felt the energy thrumming through the air, the sound of laughter and chatter mingling with the distant notes of a band setting up. He stood at the edge of the park, looking out at the colorful tents and the buzz of families setting up their booths. He had never been one for fairs, but today was different. This was an opportunity. Jack watched as children ran past, faces painted like tigers, balloons bobbing in the air, and cotton candy spinning like a sugar cloud. Yet behind that joy, he felt the pressure mounting. He poured his heart into the plans he laid out with Sarah. This fair was their hope, the first step towards connecting with the community. Jack! Sarah's bright voice pulled him from his thoughts. She approached with a clipboard in hand, her enthusiasm lighting up the moment. Are you ready for this? We have volunteers lined up, and the booth looks amazing. He nodded, though the flutter of nerves twisted his stomach. Yeah, I hope people will actually stop by. They will, she assured him, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. This is about them, too. They want to know what's happening. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus on the positive. Right. Let us do this, he said, pushing back the lingering doubts. As people began to flow toward the booths, Jack felt the twinge of excitement return. They had set up displays filled with information about the workshops, mentoring opportunities, and ways to get involved. But deep down, he craved their acceptance, their belief in what he was trying to achieve. Hours passed in a blur. Faces came and went, some were curious, others indifferent. But as the sun began to dip lower, casting a golden light over everything, Jack spotted Ms. Jenkins approaching with a small group of young adults. His heart raced as they stopped in front of the booth. Jack! Ms. Jenkins waved him over, her expression warm but serious. These kids are really interested in your workshops. Can you tell them what a mentoring program involves? Jack cleared his throat, adrenaline surging. Absolutely. He leaned forward, eager to share. We're aiming to create a bridge where young people can learn from those already established in various careers. It's about building skills and confidence. As he spoke, he noticed each young face lighting up with interest. The spark of curiosity was there, it felt genuine. It was exactly what he had hoped for. After his talk, several youth stepped forward with questions, their voices buzzing with energy. Jack felt the pieces of his vision falling into place. Maybe this was how change started, with just a conversation and an open heart. But then, the noise of laughter faded to a dull roar when he saw a local council member approaching. The man wore a stern expression that instantly put Jack on edge. He had been worried about this very moment, the possibility that skepticism might rear its head just when hope seemed tangible. Jack Spencer? The councilman called, his voice sharp. What exactly do you think you're doing here? Jack swallowed hard, every eye in the vicinity turning towards him. I'm here to share our plans for community development, he started, feeling unsteady. We believe as a company we can support the young people in Maplewood. The councilman interrupted, his tone dismissive. And you think a booth at a fair is enough to earn the town's trust? You think talking to these kids is going to fix everything? The air thickened with tension. Jack felt heat flood his face. He wanted to argue, to shout about the importance of connection, but all he managed was a shaky breath. As murmurs rippled through the crowd, a sense of dread washed over him. Would Maplewood truly reject him before he could even make an impact? Just then, he felt a firm hand on his shoulder. It was Sarah. You've got this, Jack. Remember why you're doing this, she whispered, her eyes full of encouragement. But as Jack turned back to the councilman, his heart sank. What would he say? How could he turn this moment of doubt into an opportunity to rally the town around his vision? Little did he know, the real test was only beginning, and it would require every ounce of courage he had left. Would he rise to the occasion or falter in the face of opposition? Jack's heart raced as he stood before the councilman, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. The hum of the fair faded into the background, the joyous laughter replaced by the sharpness of the moment. All eyes were on him, and he felt exposed, as if every fear he'd pushed down was surfacing at once. Talking to these kids isn't enough, the councilman sneered, but Jack couldn't just let that slide. He was tired of feeling small. No, it isn't, he said, trying to sound more assured than he felt. But it's a start. If we don't talk, how can we change anything? The councilman raised an eyebrow, as if surprised by Jack's defiance. And you think you can make a difference just like that? He snapped his fingers, a dismissive gesture that stirred the crowd. Jack's palms were clammy, but he noticed a small group of young people gathered to the side, listening intently. They looked up at him, their expressions ranging from curiosity to hope. Their presence gave him strength. I believe in the kids of this town. They have so much potential. They just need support, guidance. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and for the first time, Jack felt a flicker of solidarity. He pressed on. We can create opportunities where they can learn, grow, and connect with mentors. This isn't just me talking. It's us. The community working together. You have to trust us. What makes you think you're the one to lead this? The councilman demanded, his tone dripping with skepticism. Because I live here, too, Jack said, his voice gaining strength. I grew up right here in Maplewood. I have a stake in this town just as much as anyone else. I want to see it thrive. Not just for me, but for all of us. He glanced at Sarah, standing resolutely by his side, and she gave him an encouraging nod. Her faith was like a lifeline, drawing him in. We're not asking for permission, we're asking for support. We want to empower these kids, give them the chance I wish I'd had. An older woman stepped forward from the crowd. You're right, she said, her voice shaky but determined. We need to change things for the better. Jack felt a swell of emotion as a ripple effect began to unfold. More people nodded in agreement, joining in with their own anecdotes of struggle and hope. It was as if the air itself was charged with possibility. The councilman stood flustered, clearly unprepared for the unity blossoming around Jack's words. This isn't a democratic process. You can't expect what? Sarah interjected, stepping forward. Expect hope? Expect progress? We've been stuck for too long in the shadows of fear and doubt. It's time to shine a light on what we can build together. The crowd's murmurs turned into quiet applause, emboldening Jack further. He could see the councilman's grip on power loosening, his face turning a shade of crimson mixed with confusion. Just then, a voice called from the back, "Let us give them a chance." It was one of the young adults who had approached earlier, now stepping confidently into the spotlight. This time, the councilman took a step back, the authority he wielded suddenly feeling less certain. Jack felt something shift in the atmosphere, a merging of hope that he had been yearning for. It ignited a fire within him. If we work together, Maplewood can be more than we ever imagined. Imagine kids thriving, collaborating, leading their own paths. But before he could fully draw the crowd into this new vision, he heard the councilman scoff, "You think this will just magically happen? It's unrealistic." An uneasy silence fell. Jack clenched his jaw, fighting against the wave of frustration washing over him. Was this all futile? Could he really convince this man, with his firm grip on the town's trust, that there was a path forward, one viable and full of promise? As doubt began to creep back in, he felt a tap on his shoulder. It was Sarah. "You've done enough for today. Just don't forget, it only takes one voice to start a movement." The energy shifted. Jack knew this was more than just him. It was about that spark of belief igniting in Maplewood. The moment. hung in the air, heavy with expectation. What would happen next? Would Jack summon the courage to push through the uncertainties? Could he transform fear into a collective ambition? And as the crowd held its breath, Jack realized the answer lay with each and every person present. As Jack stood there, the weight of expectation hanging over him like an oppressive cloud, he felt the energy of the crowd shift once more. The murmurs of support were growing, swelling into something powerful. He could feel the backing of the community beneath his feet, urging him on. But the councilman wasn't finished. The defiance in Jack's words seemed to provoke a deeper rage. "Enough of this nonsense," he exclaimed, waving a hand dismissively. "What you're proposing is a waste of time and resources. We have real issues to deal with here." With a breath, Jack locked eyes with Sarah, which steadied his racing heart. He remembered the nights they spent working on plans to uplift their hometown, how they envisioned spaces where kids could learn and express themselves freely. Maybe it wasn't just about him, but about everybody who shared this dream. Real issues like what? Jack countered boldly, stepping forward. Ignoring the kids whose voices haven't been heard? Real issues are investing in their potential. In their future. This place deserves more than just surviving, it deserves to thrive. The crowd shifted again, each person absorbing Jack's passion. The nervous buzz transformed into something palpable, an undercurrent of hope that began to ripple around him. Then, unexpectedly, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. It was Lisa, the college student who used to volunteer at the local community center, her eyes sparkling with resolve. "Jack is right," she shouted, her voice resonating with urgency. "We all know kids in this town with dreams bigger than their circumstances. I've watched too many of them fall through the cracks. We have a responsibility to help them." Jack felt a surge of gratitude as Lisa took her stand. The councilman, now visibly shaken, tried to retort, but the people were no longer looking to him. They were looking to Jack and to each other, united in a way that had never happened before. Another person stepped up, an older gentleman with a warm smile, Mr. Thompson, who had always been a fixture at community events. "I've seen too many talented kids leave Maplewood for bigger cities. It's time they see we care about them and their futures. We need this as much as they do." Jack's heart swelled. The realization dawned on him, this wasn't an isolated moment, this was a movement. He could feel it spreading, igniting others with each voice that rose. "Let us stand together. We can raise funds, start programs, even create partnerships with local businesses. Our strengths combined can build a future." Jack's voice wavered with emotion, the sheer weight of it all threatening to choke him. "You honestly believe you can pull this off?" The councilman scoffed, disbelief still mingling with irritation. "Yes," Jack shouted back, the conviction now surging through him like a warm fire. "If we believe in ourselves and in each other, anything is possible. Maplewood can be a shining example for communities everywhere." In that critical moment, the crowd erupted, shouting words of encouragement, clapping, and cheering. Jack could feel the ground shaking beneath him with momentum, a wave of unity flowing through their shared aspirations. But even amidst this euphoria, doubt crept back. Would all this energy translate into real action? Would it make a difference, or would it fade away like so many plans before? As the crowd settled into an expectant hush, Jack looked around, absorbing every hopeful face, every eager expression. He needed to turn this moment into a structured plan. "Let us meet again. Let us talk about where we go from here," he said, exhilarated. "Together, we will pave the way." But as he spoke, he noticed the councilman lingering there, an undercurrent of something dangerous swirling behind his eyes. Jack's heart raced. Could this man still sabotage their efforts? What would it take to ensure their voices were not just heard, but respected? And as he met the councilman's gaze, tension hung thick in the air, leaving Jack to wonder how would this clash unfold in the heart of Maplewood. Jack stood at the center of the square, the warmth of the crowd enveloping him like a comforting blanket. The cheers still echoed in his ears, filling him with an energy he hadn't felt in years. But even amid the clamor, a shiver ran down his spine. The councilman was not a man to be underestimated. Jack could practically feel the weight of the man's glare, burning into the back of his head. Is this really happening? He wondered, heart racing at the thought. Was he truly a catalyst for change, or just a fleeting spark in a dim corner of Maplewood? A stream of voices pulled him back. "We're with you, Jack," someone called. "This is our moment." The crowd was buzzing, alive with passion. Jack took a deep breath, trying to harness that energy. "All right," he said, raising his hands as people quieted slightly. "Let us get organized. I want each of you to think of one idea, one way we can make this work. We'll meet next week, same time, same place. Tell your friends, your family. This is just the beginning." Eager nods and murmurs of agreement confirmed his words, and Jack felt a surge of confidence. But the councilman was still there, leaning against a lamppost with arms crossed, his expression a mix of skepticism and disdain. "Don't think this will end well for you," the councilman muttered under his breath, just loud enough for Jack to hear. "This town needs real solutions, not dreams. You're wasting people's time." Ignoring the man's taunts, Jack focused on his supporters, who were energized and chatting about their ideas. "We can start a mentorship program," someone suggested. "Let us do a fundraising event at the fair." Another added, enthusiasm lighting up their faces. Jack smiled, feeling hope for the first time in what felt like ages. This wasn't just about raising awareness, it was about lighting a fire under the community. Together, they could breathe life into Maplewood again. As the crowd started dispersing, Jack and Sarah moved to the side, the towering oak tree casting dappled shadows on the ground. "You really inspired them," she said, brushing back her hair with a smile that shone brighter than the sun. "I think you can do this." "I hope so," Jack admitted, looking into her eyes. Doubt flickered at the edge of his mind. But then Lisa approached them, wide-eyed and bursting with excitement. "Jack! I spoke to my professor. He's on board to help," she exclaimed. "He has connections in the city, people who want to invest in community projects. This could be huge." Jack's heart leaped. "That's incredible, Lisa. We can really make this happen." But just like that, Lisa's excitement turned to seriousness as she glanced around. "But what about the councilman? He'll try to stop us. I can feel it." "I know." Jack's tone shifted. It was time to prepare for battle. "We'll need to be ready. We can't be discouraged. If anything, we need to stay one step ahead." As they walked toward the parking lot, Jack's mind raced with possibilities, strategies forming like the clouds rolling in on a summer evening. The councilman would be fierce. But this time, they wouldn't back down. What if the coming week revealed just how far the councilman would go to quash their efforts? Would they have what it took to stand firm amidst the impending storm? Jack glanced back at the crowd, still abuzz with excitement and purpose. It was more than a dream now, it was a mission. Taking a deep breath, Jack squeezed Sarah's hand a little tighter as they approached his car. This was only the beginning, and he could feel the winds of change beginning to blow. But as he turned the key in the ignition, a sudden thought knocked the wind out of him: what consequences awaited them if they truly began to challenge the status quo? The uncertainty hung in the air, heavy yet invigorating, leaving Jack with a single burning question. Were they prepared for the fight ahead? The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window as Jack poured himself a strong cup of coffee. The smell of the rich brew filled the air, but his mind was still churning with thoughts of the councilman. They had stirred something in Maplewood, but was it enough? He sat at the small table, fingers wrapped around the warm mug, searching for answers. "Jack, you okay?" Sarah's voice broke him from his reverie as she entered the room, her brow furrowed with concern. "Yeah, just thinking," he replied with a forced smile. About the meeting next week and what we're up against. She slid into the chair opposite him, her energy contagious. You've got this. You've already rallied everyone. The councilman is just one man. Besides, we have Lisa's professor backing us. He nodded, but doubt lingered in his chest. What if it's not enough? What if we fail? I can't let them down. Sarah reached out, placing her hand on his. You're not alone in this. We're in it together. We have a whole community willing to fight. Remember why you started? He thought back to that afternoon in the square, the voices rising in unity, hearts beating as one. He remembered the fire in their eyes, the hope that flickered back to life. It wasn't just about change, he replied slowly. It was about belief. Believing in the power of us. Their moment was interrupted as Lisa bounced into the kitchen, her excitement impossible to ignore. Guess what? I got more people interested in joining our cause. I met a few local business owners who want to help us fundraise. They might even contribute to the mentorship program. Jack felt the corners of his mouth lift involuntarily. Really? That's amazing. See, maybe we really can change things. Definitely. But Lisa's expression shifted. We have to be careful. The councilman might already be plotting something. He doesn't seem like the type to just sit back and let us take over. The words hung in the air, and Jack's stomach twisted. He knew she was right. The councilman wouldn't just stand by and watch them succeed. He had power, influence. Jack took a deep breath, resolute. Okay, we'll prepare for whatever he has in mind. We can't let intimidation hold us back. That evening, the trio gathered at a local diner, diving deep into planning. Ideas flowed like the coffee being refilled at nearby tables. They mapped out potential events, discussed outreach strategies, and brainstormed messages that would resonate with their town. Jack's inner fire was rekindled with every passing hour, and he could feel the spirit of the community strengthening around him. As they sat laughing and making plans, a shadow loomed over their table, none other than the councilman himself, accompanied by his usual air of arrogance. Is this the best you can do? Daydreaming over nonsensical ideas? He sneered. You're wasting your time. There's no room for fantasy here. The laughter at their table faded, replaced by tension in the air. Jack looked up, meeting the councilman's gaze with defiance. We're not going anywhere. Maplewood deserves better, and we'll fight for it. The councilman's lips curled into a sly smile, but there was a hunger in his eyes. You think dreams will save you? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Would the councilman seek to undermine their efforts? What dirty tricks awaited? He swallowed hard but held his ground. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about everyone who believed in the fight for change. As the councilman walked away, Jack's mind turned. The swelling dread was coupled with determination. They had ignited something in Maplewood, but now it was a battle of wills. He turned to Sarah and Lisa. We have to rally everyone and act fast. If it's a fight he wants, we'll give him one. As they made their way home, excitement mixed with apprehension. They were standing at the edge of something monumental. Would they be strong enough to face what was coming? The weight of the challenge pressed down, but Jack felt in his heart there was no turning back. The only question was, what sacrifices would it take to truly win this fight for their community? The next morning brought with it a sense of urgency that Jack couldn't shake. He woke up earlier than usual, the sunlight casting a warm glow onto his pillow, but there was no peace in that light. He had a million thoughts racing through his mind. The councilman's words from the diner echoed like a chant, warning him of the battles ahead. Focus, he whispered to himself as he brewed more coffee. It was becoming the unofficial currency of their fight. As he drank the steaming cup, he pictured the faces of his neighbors, the school teachers, shop owners, and children who were counting on them for change. Once Sarah arrived, they began the day with a strategy session at the local park. The sun bathed everything in a golden hue as they laid out their plan. Lisa joined them with a group of community members eager to collaborate. Excited murmurs filled the air as they shared ideas and tackled doubts. "I'll handle the social media blast," Lisa proposed, her enthusiasm infectious. "We need to create media buzz about the council meeting. Let people know what's at stake." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of their cause settle into something more managed, something tangible. "We should also hold a town hall meeting. Everyone needs to voice their concerns. We need them involved." "Great idea," Sarah added, her eyes lighting up. "It'll unify us. Show the councilman he can't just shut us down." As the conversation flowed, a soft breeze rustled the leaves overhead. For a brief moment, Jack felt a flicker of hope. But then, a shadow flickered on the outskirts of his mind. The councilman again. What underhanded move would he try next? That question lingered, but it was pushed aside as they began to strategize specific roles. Each member of the group displayed their passions, one professor focusing on policy implications, another suggesting outreach to youth organizations. As plans solidified, the air crackled with excitement. However, as the sun began to lower, a sense of unease crept back in. Jack caught Sarah's eye, and she raised an eyebrow, sensing his distraction. "Are you all right? Just wondering what if we announce the town hall, and he tries to spin it against us? He's got connections. He'll have the media working for him." "Then we'll have to be prepared," Sarah replied firmly. "We'll counter him before he even has the chance." Jack admired her determination, but doubt gnawed at him. Could they really battle someone so entrenched in power? What if it all blows up in our faces? "Jack, we're fighting for ourselves, for our community. We can't stand back and let fear paralyze us. If we do, we're letting him win." Her words were like flames igniting his spirit, pushing aside the shadows of insecurity. Just then, Lisa's phone buzzed with a news alert, and her expression turned serious. "Guys, check this out," she said, holding her phone up for everyone to see. The headline read, "Councilman drafts legislation targeting community protests." The three friends exchanged glances, and Jack felt a knot tighten in his stomach as panic started to bubble. "We have to act fast," he said, his voice low but urgent. He's not wasting any time. The rest of the day blurred into a whirlwind of phone calls, meetings, and frantic last-minute planning. They rallied others to spread the word about their town hall meeting. Email blasts went out, flyers were printed, and a community event was organized, all in the hope of gathering strength. As night descended, Jack sat on the porch with Sarah and Lisa, the weight of what lay ahead heavy in the air. Tomorrow's the day. It's all or nothing now. Together then, right? Lisa said, her voice filled with resolve. Together, they echoed in unison. But deep down, Jack wrestled with the question: what consequences would arise from their efforts? Would their dreams be enough to counter the power the councilman wielded? As he looked toward the horizon, uncertainty loomed like storm clouds gathering on the threshold of dawn. Would they emerge victorious, or would they find themselves casting shadows instead of light? The fight had only just begun. The day finally arrived, pulsing with anticipation, the town hall buzzing with excited chatter. Jack stood at the entrance, heart racing. Everywhere he looked, he saw familiar faces: friends, neighbors, those implicated in the struggle. They had come together, a sea of hope and determination. "Jack, you ready?" Sarah's voice cut through the noise, her eyes shining with confidence. "I think so," he replied, though the fluttering in his stomach said otherwise. Each glance at the crowded room amplified the weight on his shoulders. This wasn't just another meeting, it was a chance for a future, a chance to reclaim Maplewood's spirit. As they entered the hall, Jack could feel the energy in the air shift. Everyone had a stake in this. They were ready to stand together, ready to speak out against the oppression they faced. The local council had been warned this time, they were all watching. Jack took a deep breath, stepping up to the podium. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "Today, we're not just talking about our dreams. We're demanding them. We will take every opportunity to empower our youth, to rebuild this community together." The crowd erupted with applause, the sound swelling like a wave crashing against the shore. Jack's heart soared. This was their moment. One by one, community members began to share their stories, the hardships they faced with unemployment, the struggle to provide for their families, the talents they saw wasted. The passion behind their words ignited the room. Jack felt invigorated. This was the power of unity, the voices of Maplewood rising collectively. But there, in the back of the room, the councilman sat stiffly, arms crossed and eyes narrowed. The disbelief on his face was palpable, his tactics apparent. Jack could sense him plotting, but determined not to let intimidation dampen their spirit, he pushed forward. "Together, we will counter any push to silence us. Strength lies in our numbers, and we will not back down." The applause grew thunderous, and laughter erupted at odd moments, the warmth of community fueling every word and gesture shared. It was infectious. Sarah's presence beside him made it even more powerful. She knew they were doing this for more than themselves. This was about generation after generation rising from the rubble, reclaiming their heritage. But just then, the councilman stood. "If you think emotional speeches will turn this town around, you're sorely mistaken." He boomed, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "You need solid plans, not fantasies." With composure that surprised even him, Jack responded, "We are building those very plans, and they involve real people ready to help us. People you know, trust, and live beside. You think we're just words? We're the actual fabric of this community." Hesitation flickered on the councilman's face, but he pressed on. "And who will pay for your misguided programs?" "Local businesses and mentors," Jack shot back, "like the community members who stood up today. Not everyone is comfortable handing over cash to someone they never met. But that changes with transparency and genuine collaboration." Jack's conviction turned the tide. The crowd began to voice their agreement, their voices rising together, drowning out dissent. The councilman's veneer of confidence was cracking, and Jack seized that moment. If you can't support the very people you represent, then you're in the wrong position. As the murmurs swept through the crowd like wildfire, nods and encouragement spurred Jack on further. Change is now, and it's happening here and now in Maplewood. We will not be ignored. Let this council understand they can't silence us anymore. The room erupted, a cascade of agreement, claps, and cheers echoing off the walls. In that moment, Jack understood what had begun. The winds of transformation had stirred. There was change on the horizon, brighter than the clouds. As the meeting closed, and people began to disperse, a palpable sense of unity lingered. Sarah turned to him, her eyes glistening with excitement. "You did it, Jack. You really did it." "I couldn't have done it without everyone here," he admitted, though inside he felt more bold than before. "This is just the beginning." Outside, a child's laughter danced through the air, and as Jack stepped into the crisp evening breeze, he felt something lift from his shoulders, the weight of disconnection, replaced with a solid bond to his roots, to Maplewood. In the coming days, they would face challenges and might encounter resistance from the councilman, but together, they would rise stronger. They would keep their dreams alive in the heart of their community. There was no turning back now, there was only the road ahead, paved with possibility and hope. Jack turned to Sarah, a smile breaking across his face. "Let us build this dream together." And in that moment, under the stars overhead, Jack Thompson, once a hesitant CEO, felt a surge of conviction. They were creating something beautiful in Maplewood, a legacy, a community reborn, and a future where every dream had a chance to flourish. This is your moment to shine too. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next incredible journey. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and spread the love. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring transformation. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this rise from hardship. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans know how important it is to support the channel.